Good morrow, citizens. I want to talk to you today about a game that I am into these days called Tower of Fantasy. Tower of Fantasy is a new game that came out recently worldwide. It has been in China for close to a year. Came out back in December. It is made by the developers Hota Studios, and they were published by Level Infinite worldwide, Perfect World in China and Korea, and I Wan Tiandi, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, by the way, in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. I'm not sure. But anyway, and it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a Genshin clone in terms of the looks and the feel and the ambience. It is a Genshin clone. The overall gameplay, though, is slightly different than Genshin. Now, I'm not saying that it's totally different. There's similarities to their overall gameplay, but generally, like, it's still like anime style inspired look characters with a lot of like same background style artworks and set pieces. But overall, I gotta say, spoiler alert to my my thoughts, I enjoy Tower of Fantasy more. Now, not to say that Genshin is a bad game. Genshin is a game that when it first came out, I played it for a good month, and though I can honestly say I did enjoy it, it did not capture me. I didn't play it as much as I should or could or whatever, but I instead opted not to because not that I didn't like the game, it just doesn't captivate me. It doesn't capture me. Like, it's a fun game. There's fun moments, but there's one thing that didn't capture me so well. It's the battles. The battles in Genshin kind of felt to me a little boring, which is why I'm so hooked on Tower of Fantasy. The battles in Tower of Fantasy, it is what hooked me. I like the system, the battle system in Tower of Fantasy. I like how fast paced it is, how much more engaging I am into the battle, and how much more combos I can make with my weapon. Now, it's like Genshin. Genshin has this whole switching characters in the middle of battle to combo the elements and all that to make like a really cool looking attack and just like piling onto the enemies. And yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. And with Tower of Fantasy, it's almost the same. You're switching weapons. You're making but you're not really comboing the elements of the weapon. Each weapon has their own combos. You're building up a certain aura or whatever you want to call it. You're building up something that would, when you switch the weapon, would release like a special attack. And it's cool. It really is cool. But I feel like because of that, when I combo a certain way with my weapons, it just feels more engaging for me, right? And there's also the fact that if I jump, there's a different combo. If I dodge, there's a different combo. And it works really well. And the first day I played this, not on stream, not even recorded. I didn't even record the first time I played this because I was just like, hey, Tower Fantasy is out. I was even talking to Pending while I was playing this. I was like saying to Pending, hey, Tower Fantasy is out. I think I'm gonna try it. And Pending was like, sure, tell me how it is. I'm just gonna go to the character creation because I heard there's a long queue wait to get into the servers. So I was like, I'm just gonna try that, see how long the queue wait is, and then I'm just gonna stop. I did the character, I played the game a little bit, and there was no queue wait. There was no queue wait at all. I got into the game pretty easily, and then I'm just like, well then, why don't I play a little bit? 8 hours later, I finally said to myself, oh, I gotta stop. I've been at this for too long. I forgot to eat. so so that shows how engaged I am with the game right off from the start, right? With Genshin, I remember the first time I played it, I think I played for like 3 hours, and then I was like, okay, we're good. See you around, everybody, bye-bye, kind of thing. And this, like I said, Tower of Fantasy, that first time I played it, not recorded at all, not streamed, nothing, which was a lost lost opportunity for content. Tower of Fantasy has a big difference with Genshin. It is an MMO. The multiplayer aspect is much better than Genshin because of the MMO aspect of it, and that is way different than Genshin, right? And I'm not comparing apples and oranges here. Genshin is Genshin. It is not an MMO. It's an action RPG, mostly solo. You can play with friends on certain parts to play certain. It's like Genshin is almost like a Dark Souls style multiplayer, where you would play a singular story that goes on, and then from little by little, you would like play some extra games with a friend to fight a certain boss or something. A friend can come in and help you, that kind of thing, right? So Genshin is closer to that, while Tower of Fantasy is definitely a more open MMO style game. You can play the story mode singularly, single player, and that one doesn't mind, but you can always just hook up with some friends, party up, and then go fight some world bosses or go adventuring together and all that, and it works out. It's really fun. Like, say that a friend was like, hey, I wanna grind certain monsters, certain enemies in the world, and even though it's easy for me to do it myself, if you're with me, we can do it faster, so let's go. So you start going around beating up all these hyena thugs together, trying to get a certain drops, and like I said, it's faster when you have friends. Now, being an MMO, unlike Genshin, Tower of Fantasy, of course, has a character creation thing at the start of the game, and the character creation, I gotta say, I'm kinda impressed by how a lot of my VTuber friends managed to actually do a close approximation to their looks, their VTuber looks in the game. And I tried my best to do mine as well, and a lot of people so far have said that it's amazing how close I made mine to look like, well, my look. And overall, I'm impressed with that. It's not the best character creation tool though. Like, you can't really customize so much of what you have in the game. Like, I think PSO2 has a better customization, but for what it is, a limited mobile available MMO game, I'm impressed with it. I gotta say, pretty good job on the character creation library there, Hora. Especially consider how limited you are. So hey, good job everybody. The storyline for Tower of Fantasy, honestly, I did pay attention to it. With Genshin, I gotta say, I was enthralled with the storyline. The storyline was actually very interesting and very compelling. Tower of Fantasy storyline is generic. The little bit that I've seen, not a little bit, I'm on chapter 3 right now, and it's pretty generic. It's a generic anime style storyline, protagonist lost memories, blah 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 blah, and now protagonist is trying to save the world. Nothing big. The world building is interesting. I do like the world building in Tower of Fantasy, but Genshin has better world building. Genshin has better world building, better storyline, and I dare say better characters. Tower of Fantasy has interesting characters, but we're never with those characters long enough to be invested in them. Genshin has like all these characters that's just like interesting to know about, interesting to find out more about them, but Tower of Fantasy has this simulacra being those are the characters you can gacha for, and those simulacras have like there's certain like gameplays where you can have like a chapter playing simulacra storylines. Those are way more interesting than the main storyline, which is sad because that simulacra storyline actually has like a lot of like little glimpses to their backstories, their build-ups, and it's really good, but it's not part of the main story. You don't have to play them. And it's even done in like the sort of like flashback virtual reality thing. So it's like that's a really good storyline, but it's just a side story. Genshin has a really good storyline with really great world building that's very interesting. Sadly, Tower of Fantasy doesn't have that. Like it pales in comparison to the Genshin world building and storytelling. The world building in Tower of Fantasy is interesting, not that good. Storyline, I wish Tower of Fantasy had a better storyline that's more engaging and more interesting. Because Tower of Fantasy storyline right now, not that interesting. Like I said, I hardly pay attention to it. Most of the time I just like click, 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 click.
Skip to the end.
I think Tower of Fantasy is fun. I think like there's a lot of great mini games in Tower of Fantasy as well. That's actually really interesting to go into, to play, to do. There's a lot of little things in Tower of Fantasy that can keep you always having fun with it. Okay, I guess we should get into it. I mean, it is a big part of both games. It has gone like it has even like have its own controversies because of this little mechanic. Let's talk about the gacha. So everybody knows the gacha in Genshin can be so crazy. People get so wild on it. They spend thousands of dollars to get what they want, the latest waifu or the latest character, husbandos, what have yous. I'm not gonna reprimand people for it. Doesn't matter. But I have to say, so far, I have not put in any money in Tower of Fantasy at all. I did not put any money in Genshin too, just so everyone knows. In 1 month and a half I played the game, I've never put any money in any of these two games. Because I feel like until I really want something, I don't see a point in putting the money in it. If you want to put money in your gacha games though, that's up to you. That's your prerogative. I'm not gonna blame you for that. I'm not gonna even reprimand you for that. That's your thing. Now, before anything, let me just say, be responsible with your money. When you want to gacha, make sure that you don't go crazy on it. Make sure that it's all within your boundaries, that you have enough money for food, living expenses, all those kind of stuff. And then if you have spare, then you gacha if you want to, but be responsible. I am not telling you that you shouldn't gacha, but I am not telling you should as well. Okay? That aside, I have to say, I've rolled for the gacha in Tower Fantasy way more than I ever did in Genshin right now. I've rolled a lot. In the 4 days I played it so far, I've rolled so much more than I ever did for Genshin. Because Tower of Fantasy is extremely generous with giving the currencies you need to roll for gacha for free. But you gotta put your hours into the game. You gotta travel the world, go do some world exploration, do some mini games, those kind of things. But they are very generous with the rewards. They are very generous to tell you, hey, thanks for doing this. Here's some extra stuff for you. Gacha away, buddy. Genshin was as sort of that at the beginning, and it does. I believe that they still do it. They still give you like enough for you to like gacha without putting in money, but they're not as generous as Tower of Fantasy. There you keep at it. You'll do it in Genshin eventually as well, but you won't get as much as you do in Tower of Fantasy. So gacha wise, I'd say Tower of Fantasy more generous to the free to play players than Genshin was. So my thoughts generally is that, like I said before, I've already spoiled it, I like Tower of Fantasy more than Genshin. Not because of the storyline, not because of the world building, but I enjoy the game. I enjoy playing the game more. My experience in the game is much more fun, and I do so much world exploration in Tower of Fantasy, while in Genshin I was just like, get to the next plot point, get to the next plot point, I don't care. But so that, I guess that sort of shows that I'm so behind on the Tower of Fantasy storyline. But I really enjoy the world aspect of it, the world exploration. So overall, my thoughts, I like Tower of Fantasy more. Is it better than Genshin? I wouldn't say that, because I feel like Genshin has way more pros than cons when compared to Tower of Fantasy. But my experience of game enjoyment is more towards Tower of Fantasy. But that's just me. So if you agree or disagree with me, do let me know in the comments down below. But be civil. I will have you arrested. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you will have a cold, stern look from justice if you're not civilized in the comments below. But anyway, that aside, right? Thank you so much for watching this video of me giving my thoughts on Tower of Fantasy. So hit the like button down below if you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, hey, hit the subscribe button too. Why not, right? It's free. Anyway, stay good, stay healthy. Don't forget to hydrate whenever you can, and of course to always enjoy the future, citizens. Till next time, everybody, I'll see you around. Otsu Justice. Bye bye.